Oh, I didn't hit the go live button.
Oh, okay, let's go live. How about it?
Wait, but oh wait, I did go live. Please check the video resolution. It says because it says end stream. There's 236 people viewing it. Well, it's been live for. Let me see. Is it? It's gray for my. Oh no, what's going on? Here, let me try.
Oh, gee, Grace says it's on now.
Okay, maybe it just took something to. Okay, it's working now.
Okay, great.
Alright, maybe that just was a lag then.
Right. We are indeed live. Sorry for the confusion. We are live and here on Monday of week 11 talking about happiness. And so if you've watched the beginning of this already, we're going to start over again and be ready to go. And so what we're thinking about is taking a deep breath and just getting ready. Here we are to begin. So this is where we were last week. The story of economism, the idea that it is a story, and this philosophy of economism or belief system that we work hard, that we get money, that we accumulate possessions, and that we are therefore happy. And yet, is that story working? So today's topic, if you looked at this, is what's happiness got to do with it? And so I'd like to share this story. I do want to mention that I heard from a number of you last week that economism is not your story, and that makes me absolutely delighted. But I do want to acknowledge that it is the system of a lot of people. And so how is it that it plays out, and how is it that we can understand it and then be able to communicate with others or learn from other people or share our ideas? And so from the time I was about 10, I desired a convertible much like this one. I wanted it. To me, it represented being rich. It represented excitement and freedom and accomplishment, having time to just drive around, relaxation. It was my story about what a convertible meant. And so not too long ago, I realized this was still my story. Someday I'm going to have a convertible. Except I realized I don't even like driving around with my windows down because the noise really bothers me. I'm very noise sensitive. And wind, like we're experiencing here in State College today, wind makes me feel crazy. It's and not in a good way, not in that excitement kind of way. And so why did I think that a convertible was the car for me? It was because of what it represented. I actually want all the things that it represents, but not that actual thing. And so I've come to question, how often has that happened to me when I want something that's the in style, whether it's a particular pair of jeans or a particular pair of boots or a house that is kind of like the ones that my friends are having, or whatever that story is. It's made me wonder how much money I've wasted on the things that I thought that I wanted, and in reality it's more the underlying concept of the thing that I want, whether it's to be cool, to be accepted, to be okay with my family, to make sure that they think that I'm being successful. And so thinking about the underlying reason for the want. Another example is that I have bought chairs. I have a thing for chairs. So over the course of the last 15 or 20 years, I don't know how many chairs I have purchased, often at Goodwill or at, yard sales, or thinking, oh, this is the chair that I want. It could be that they're comfortable, they're fun, they're rocking chairs, bean bags, couches with cozy cushions. But upon reflecting, it's not really about the fact that I want chairs. It's about my underlying desire to relax, to be able to sit down, to rest, or to knit, or to read in a chair. I love snuggling. I love being comfortable. And so, what I want, or what I thought that I wanted, what I was the perfect chair. So my quest went on and on for years until I realized that I could have any number of chairs and I still struggle to sit down. It's because I have this addiction to busyness. My life is full. And so it appears to me that I need to keep all these balls in the air as I move through my days, to be doing, to be moving. And so I don't ever feel like there's time to really sit down to relax. There's always something that needs to be done. And so I can buy as many chairs, and yet if I don't come to terms with my addiction to busyness, then I won't sit down. It's my story, it's my personal story. And so, what is your thing? I already see some of them coming up in the chat. Somebody with yarn, wanting to knit and crochet. Somebody with stuffed animals from the animal kingdom because they're so fun. Somebody with fountain pens, the perfect fountain pen. Cups, the perfect travel cup. Yes. Rings. So it could be all of these things. So is it for you, as you think about, maybe you can't relate to my car ideas or my comfortable chairs, but what about the perfect house or a boat? These are things like in your dreams out there. Maybe a tropical adventure or a shoe collection, or it could be jewelry. It could be somebody here is admitting to having a water bottle problem. I see. Rocks. Yeah, all kinds of things. So the things that we think that we need more of, the things that we think that will bring us happiness, helps us to consider, what is it that we really want money for? And I'm not judging. I'm not judging the person who has a water bottle problem by any means. You've just heard about some of my own issues, and so, but I want you to reflect on your story. What is your thing? So, thinking about the metacognition, you remember this from the beginning, and we've done so much of this. The idea of thinking about your thinking can reveal so much. So over the course of this class today, we're going to be doing some of this metacognition. So keep thinking about what's that, what is it that holds that value for you? And is it really the thing, or is there an underlying, somebody here says candles. Candles. When I think of candles, I think of warm and cozy, and they smell so good. But how many candles? They are consumable, right? They eventually run out. How many candles does a person need? And again, I'm not judging. It's just an interesting point of reflection. Where does that happiness come? How many candles? And how much money does it cost to get those candles? So up to a certain point, there is a direct relationship. obviously, as the graph goes up there, the amount of money, here as it goes up, it does improve happiness when it involves things like having enough food, having comfortable shelter, having transportation if it's necessary to get to and from a job or to visit relatives, or so there is a certain connection between the amount of money and the amount of happiness. But then happiness levels off. More money at some point doesn't mean more happiness. It's sort of like this. I can eat 1 or 2 Oreos and be quite happy, but if I eat the whole package of Oreos, I'm going to be the opposite of happy. There's something that happens there that shifts. And so I want to share with you 3 different stories that from a photographer. He created a book called Material World. It's a portrait of the world's possessions. And he went to 30 countries worldwide, and Peter Menzel was his name, and he found a statistically average family in each of those countries and photographed them outside their home with all of their belongings. And so here's the first one. This is Mali. It is common for men in this West African country to have 2 wives, and you can see that that's the case in this picture. He's 39 years old. Having 2 wives increases the number of children, and in turn, it increases their chance of being supported in old age. They now have a family of 8 children, as well as his 2 wives, and he'll likely have more kids. How many of the children will survive, though, is uncertain because Mali's infant mortality rates ranks among the 10 highest in the world. So this is all of their possessions that you can see in this photograph, except they have another mortar and pestle for grinding grain. They have 2 wooden mattress platforms. They have 30 mango trees and old radio batteries that the children use as toys. So looking at this picture, some important food for thought. About 30% of people in Mali have access to sewage treatment. 65% have access to electricity. So think about that ratio of money to happiness. We'll talk about that again. We'll reference this picture. So take a mental picture of this. So then we have the Wu family in China. And I want to point out that their abode, their dwelling is just 600 square feet of what's pictured there in the background. There are 9 people that live in that 600 square feet. They have no telephone, and they get news through 2 radios and the family's most prized possession, which is a television. In the future, they hope to get a larger television, as well as drugs to combat diseases in the carp that they raise in their ponds. They not included in this photo. This again is all of their possessions have been moved out of the house except these items: 100 mandarin trees, the vegetable patch, and 3 pigs. Food for that thought when you look at this picture is that people in China are not statistically happier now than they were 25 years ago, even though times have probably changed some since this photo was taken. So take in that photo. And then this picture, this is a family in Texas. They have a 1,600 square foot house, and again, their belongings have been moved out. And you can see they've been lifted up on a crane so that they can be so that all of their possessions can fit into the photo. Rick, who's 36, splices cables for a phone company, and Patty, who's 34, teaches at a Christian academy. They still had to leave out of the picture their refrigerator, freezer, the camcorder, the woodworking tools, the computer, the glass butterfly collection, the trampoline, the fishing equipment, and rifles that Rick uses for deer hunting. Despite all their possessions, nothing is as important to them as their Bible, which is an interesting contrast between the spiritual values and the material values. And food for thought here is that happiness in America has fallen due to declining social support and increased corruption. We're going to talk in just a moment about the World Happiness Report, which is where they get some of those statistics. But thinking about that ratio of money to happiness brings me to this quote by George Carlin that I love. Trying to be happy by accumulating possessions is like trying to satisfy hunger by taping sandwiches all over your body. There's a certain irony about this. So the World Happiness Report, it's a study that's done every year by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. And they are committed to redefining the growth narrative to put people's well-being at the center of government's efforts. So this started in the early, it started in 2012, was the first World Happiness Report. And it ranks 156 countries by how happy the citizens perceive themselves to be. It's released every year, on March 20th, which is World Happiness Day. And it's focused on the relation between happiness and their surroundings. So the top countries, the happiest countries, are Finland, Denmark, Switzerland, Norway, Iceland, and the Netherlands. They hold the top 6 positions. The United States ranks number 18 on this list. So the pictures that we just looked at were the United States, number 18. China is number 94 on the list, and Mali is number 114. So thinking about that, the basic needs being met there in Mali, and how their happiness is affected because they don't have enough money even to meet those basic needs. The studies cover the state of the world's happiness and misery, and policy implications are related to this. So how do they all fit together? They're using data from 6 key variables when they do the World Happiness Report. So the real GDP per capita, so gross domestic product, so that's related to money. So they do consider that when they're doing this report. The others, having someone to count on, it's that social structure. The healthy life expectancy, remember back to Mali, where the infant death rate is in the top 10 in the world. So that is going to bring happiness down significantly, I can only imagine. Sense of freedom to make life choices, the generosity of the people around in the communities, and trust in the government, trust in communities, and how that perceptions of corruption balance out with that. So being that the United States is number 18, why aren't we higher on the list? And so there's someone who has looked back in time. And so 45 years ago, the happiness in the US had remained unchanged from 1946 to 1970, despite the significant rise in income, the GDP per capita, per person. And so that's what is interesting, is that even though the money has increased, the happiness hasn't necessarily increased. Hold on one second. Okay, I'm glad you're home. There's a note for you downstairs on the clipboard, okay? Okay, I'm glad you had a good day. Good, okay. Good, okay. Oh, good. Okay, I'll find you in just a few minutes. Go read the note. Okay, thanks for your patience. And so there is this increase in income, and yet the happiness has not changed. So other factors must be pulling our number down. And in fact, it seems as though there are worsening health conditions, as well as declining social trust and declining confidence in government, which seems to be bringing our number to 18. There are also some trends that are leading to this. There is an increase in addictions in the United States, which I think is important to highlight. We're suffering from an epidemic of addictions. And the addictions are leaving a rising portion of American society unhappy and clinically depressed. Hey, babe, I'm right in the middle of class. No, go read the note, baby. Okay. Yes, go ahead. Okay. So those addictions could be a variety of things. It could be the usual tobacco or alcohol, marijuana, opioids, but then other addictions such as addictive behaviors like gambling, social media, video games, shopping, unhealthy foods, addictions to exercise, extreme sports, risky sexual behaviors, and others. So these compulsions it's a cycle, right? As people are unhappy, they search for happiness in other things, other ways, and then those other things, these addictions, are causing unhappiness. So the cycle continues. And so with all of this in mind, the topic for today is happiness. And I want to dive into what brings you genuine happiness. What brings you genuine happiness? I found that to answer these kind of questions 3 times helps us to dig a little bit deeper each time, or to create an even more thorough list. And so I'd like you to take a moment to answer this on your notes page. I experience real happiness when. So take a moment and reflect on that. And then when you have your list, I'd like you to share that in your Zoom. We'll take a couple of minutes. We'll take 2 minutes to share in your Zoom about what brings happiness. And tease, if you have a moment to drop those into the chat, a couple of those, some of those into the chat, I would be really grateful. Thank you.
I'm not using this, right?
No. Are you using this room?
No, I just saw that projector on. I can't
Oh.
even turn it off.
Oh, thank you.
I am so excited about what I'm seeing from all of you. It makes me happy. My goodness. Dancing and music, laughing, creating art, nice weather, making someone else smile or do something kind from others, for others, going on adventures, being fully present, being with your dogs and cats, laughing, being out in nature. Real happiness. This is a statement that can define and direct your life. What is it that brings you true happiness? And then not to ignore those things or push those things to the side. But it's amazing. Those true happiness, driving in the car with the windows down, screaming a song at the top of my lungs. Somebody's really happy when they do laundry. Isn't that great? Cooking with my mom. So it's not so complicated. Finding happiness is not complicated. It's the things that make us feel alive. It's the make us feel connected. Connecting with others face to face. Connecting with ourselves. That whole idea of being fully in the moment, being fully present, is all about being connected to ourselves. Connecting with the world. That's that idea of doing something kind for someone else. Being outside. The idea of expressing gratitude for each moment that we have. So these are all about relationship. They're about connection. And so I love that these answers are coming in so quickly and so easily, so beautifully. So what holds us back from these relationships? What holds us back from enjoying these small moments? What holds us back from seeking out these small moments? I'd like you to take a couple of minutes in your group to really talk about that. What holds me back from these relationships? So I think that this is an important reflection about what holds us back. I want to point out that these connections, connecting with others, connecting with ourselves, connecting with world, expressing gratitude, these things don't have to take money and often don't take money. And so I love that the answers that you're giving aren't financially bound. They are big things. Being able to, or feeling like others might judge, fear of judging, focusing on the future takes away from the happiness now because I'm not living in the moment, someone said. Fear of rejection, stress, just doing business, kind of like I talked about at the beginning with my chairs, not having self confidence or motivation, deadlines, and too much work. And so, how can we flip this story? How can we flip the story? Well, research shows that as children, we laugh on average 400 times a day. And then as adults, not so much. It's down to like 15 times. And then really, is it even that? I don't feel like I'm laughing even 15 times a day. And yet, why is laughter? A lot of you mentioned this about that happiness. When do you feel true happiness? It's when I'm laughing hysterically with my friends. And I have had a few of those moments lately, and it feels so good afterward. Laughing reduces our stress hormones, the cortisol and the epinephrine, the adrenaline and the dopamine. It increases the health enhancing hormones. It increases antibody producing cells so we're able to fight disease. It's a distraction, and it's a healthy one from anger and guilt and stress. And there's a benefit of connecting ourselves with others. And so, with all these things comes reduced pain, increased immunity, and increased happiness. There's even such a thing right now as laughter yoga. And so, even if we are initially faking it, our body doesn't know that. It's still, if you start just fake laughing, it's our bodies think that it's the real thing, and it still helps. So imagine that you've only had 4 hours of sleep and that there's a big test today. And what happens if you wake up and you look at yourself in the mirror and you laugh and you just start with 30 seconds of just and you can just laugh and you can bring it. So try to do it right now. You can just laugh. It doesn't matter what's happening. But just the idea of shifting our body chemistry is hysterical. It's so great. Oh my gosh. And so you can throw your phone up. You can throw your arms up. You can laugh hysterically. And even if you're faking it, it's going to help. It's going to be great. And so think of somebody right now that you think of as happy. What leads you to believe that somebody is really sincerely happy? So I want you to take a moment and think of a happy person in your life. And then I want you to tell some of those stories in your Zoom chat. I'd like you to take 2 minutes now and just think about the happiness. And I'd like you to think about what makes that person sincerely happy. So I hope that you get to share some of those stories and really think about the people in your life that seem to be happy. And I understand that that might be a real challenge at this point in 2020. That could be a real challenge. Something that I have found to be true, my grandpa was a very happy person, and I feel as though it was because he was grateful. He had a view of understanding the things in his life that were good, and he found gratitude. Happiness doesn't come from seeking more, but from being grateful for what we already have. And so, this is a beautiful and healthy quality to have. So, you can explore this. I can explore this how gratitude can cultivate happiness in our lives by pausing to appreciate all that we've been given. And you can simply start by being grateful for your breath. It comes to you freely. You can feel it rising in you and animating you, and being thankful for that. And maybe when you stand up from your chair, being grateful for the power to do that. And being appreciative of your body that can stand and walk and see and smell and touch. And so that gratitude can bring us tons of happiness. I think that that connects to this quote that some of you have referenced in today's class. First, I was dying to finish high school to start college, and then I was dying to finish college to start working, and then I was dying to marry and have children, and then I was dying for my children to grow old enough for school so I could get back to work, and then I was dying to retire from work, and now I am dying, and suddenly I realize that I forgot to live. And so, yes, it's important. You might be thinking that I'm overlooking this point, and I'm not. Of course you need money. Of course you do. So what's the annual salary do you think that you need to be okay in life? And I realize that this is a tricky question because there's so many unknowns. Like, do you know how much you're going to pay for electric? Do you know how much you're going to pay for water and trash and all of those things that need to happen in life? And yet, having an idea of this, I'm going to tell you a couple of stories very quickly here of some folks that I know. This is Woody Wilson. You might see his truck around town. He's Wilson Home Farms. He makes about $30,000 a year. He's helping people in their gardens. He has his own business, and he's doing what he loves. He's helping other people. He's in a community. He has a family, and he's teaching people how to garden. So doesn't make that much money, but he's doing what makes him happy. Jenny Ewell, she makes about $20,000 a year. She works a job for 6 months out of the year, and then she has about 6 months off. And so this is her. She's out hiking, and took that grand adventure. This is Satish Kumar. He's an Indian activist. And in 1962, he and a companion went on a mission for humanity, a peace walk of 8,000 miles. And their goal was to visit the capitals of the nuclear-armed countries at that time. And along the way, they traded their stories and their songs for food and shelter, and they listened with their hearts wide open. And so, in this experience, upon reflecting on this experience, Kumar wrote a book titled "You Are, Therefore I Am." It's a declaration of dependence. Did you get that? A declaration of dependence. The idea of, he says, after walking through a dozen countries for over 2 years, we have found that people are people everywhere. The natural instinct of people in all countries, cultures, and religions is to be helpful. Hospitality is normal. Hostility is exceptional. We are not separate. We are one. We are not competing, but we are cooperating. Satish says we give heart and we receive heart. And so could you do this, even for a night or two? Nothing you have with you except the book clothes you're wearing, no money, and go on an adventure. What kind of experience could you create for yourself? There was a researcher, an anthropologist specifically, who proposed a game to these kids in an African tribe. He put a basket full of fruits near a tree in the distance, and he told the kids that whoever got there first wins the sweet fruits, the whole basket of sweet fruits. And he told them, he gave them the usual 1, 2, 3, go. And what happened when they started to run was that they all joined hands and they ran together. And then they all sat together enjoying the treats. And when he asked them why they had run like that, when one person could have had the whole basket of fruit for himself, the children explained, Ubuntu. How can one of us be happy if all the other ones are sad? I am because we are. Ubuntu. I am because we are. And so might it be you're getting a lot of my theories, my ideas, my hypotheses. Might it be that happiness is not so much about belongings as it is about belonging? That happiness is not a pursuit, that it's not out there somewhere, not out there to be waited for, but that your happiness is inside. You told us what makes you happy. You answered that question, what makes you happy? Your happiness is on the inside. It's ready to be exposed by you. So how can you get there? The first step is to notice when you're not happy. So this is my idea of 2 dots. So the one dot is where you are, and the other dot is where you want to be or what you want to have. So there's a disconnect. So you want to align the 2 dots is the idea. So this could be as simple as waiting on the street corner for a friend. Say you're standing next to the corner room and you're supposed to meet a friend there, and they're not coming and they're not coming. And so you can stand there. I could stand there and just get frustrated and angry and pissed off that they didn't even text and tell me that they were going to be late. And so my dots are apart. I want to be happy, and yet I am angry. What am I going to do about that? So what I could do is figure out how to align my dots. I want to be happy. So rather than being in this argument with life, something that I can't control, I could simply look around and watch people. I could watch the trees. I could look at the flowers blooming right there at the Allen Street gates. I could notice the faces of the people walking by, how the sunlight shines on the tops of the trees. I can hear the far-off crows, and I can open myself to being accepted and present. So how do you bring your 2 dots together? And I think that The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. I'd like you to take a screenshot of this or write this down. I went to a talk when I was in college about this and encouraged me to think about my main thing. And so today, this is your reflection for Pack Back this week. What is your main thing? And what I mean by this is it's something that you will never bend on, something that society or some individual will never convince you to change about your beliefs, about yourself. And then consider how the main thing plays out, how it shapes your everyday life. And maybe this can help you align your two dots. Thanks for being with me today. I hope that you enjoyed today's sunshine. And I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday.
Do, 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 do.